raising a couple eyebrows.
Oh, for sure. And that bike's been a very strong contender over there in the left lane. You know, won a race last year out of Las Vegas, but they just kind of snuck up on the field a little bit.
Right off the starting line, you can see she knows one got away there. 7:22, buck 87. Sean left a little bit on the starting line, just looking at the short time. Trying to see if the chain came off on Dell's or something broke on the Suzuki, but you can see when she sat up that you'll let one get away. You hate to miss that. Angel just coasting down there. Sean Gann, stay number 1. Angel will stay number 2. Scott Lewis on the bump. Sam Hurwitz, 15. Chris Reuter, 14. Brian Long, 13. Joe DeSantis, 12. Wayne Hale, 11. Mike McPhillips, 10. And Terry Kaiser, number 9. The half of the field, Craig Treble is 8, Steve Johnson 7, Mike Terry 6, Gino Scally, Kawasaki is 5, Matt DeMissio is 4, AB is 3, the reigning champ Angel is 2, Sean Gann, that's 7:18. Earlier in the day, number 1 qualifier after 2. Pro Stock cars will be up momentarily. The Pro Stock shuffle going on. Angel getting clear to the top end of the race course. I want to thank Jim Peterson for coming, sharing his expertise. Look forward to having you stop by again tomorrow if you're available.
2 more rounds of fun tomorrow.
Hey race fans, Goodyear wants you to get connected. Right now you can get a free Motorola text pager with Flex technology and free activation when you purchase any Goodyear tire in stock. Plus, Goodyear will hook you up with free news, weather, and sports feeds right on your pager. What a deal! Goodyear tires and a free pager. Pager requires 1-year service with 6 months prepaid. For complete details, the Goodyear retailer nearest you, call 1-800-GOODYEAR.
Hi NHRA fans, this is Tom Bodette from Motel 6. I thought I'd help you pass the time. Raise your hand if this is your first visit to an NHRA event. Hey, you in the suit and tie, you can put your hand down. We had you pegged when you walked through the gates. Anyhow, let me explain some of the NHRA terminology to those of you who may not be familiar with the lingo. The Christmas tree isn't actually a tree. It's those lights at the starting line that tell the drivers when to go. Floppers is a nickname for funny cars because the body lifts up and down, kind of like a toupee, only with more sponsor decals. And you may hear a bunch of confused single runs.
Well, world famous car person Tommy Hammond's out there. Look down at the starting line and see if you can figure out which guy is Tom Hammond. No, that's Steve Smith. If one more person confuses Steve Smith and Tom Hammond, it happens all the time. Hey, didn't you play him in a game of horse one time? Or Smith? No, Hammond. Yeah, I did. How'd that go again? I won. That's what I thought. He may be able to dunk, but he can't shoot that behind the back over the basket shot. That's reserved for us skinny, geeky guys. Jamie Yates and the other split fire Grand Am. They've got Terry Adams on board now as part of that Jim Yates team over there. They've really scratched their head with this car a little bit. I mean, you think you have twin cars. Jim's car has obviously been running very well, but yet they haven't been able to quite find the handle on this Jamie Yates car. They all really do have their own personality. They do. We talked to Warren Johnson today, and he said even just the characteristics of 2 cars that look identical are completely different with the airflow and stuff. There are no 2 of them that are absolutely alike. We need funny cars. Staging lane, but you guys probably do that. 691 on the bump after 1 round. Quick? Oh yeah. I said in the first round it was going to take at least an 85 by the time we were done today. Wow. I stand by that. That's way quick. A little bit. Wandering on the top, then he goes 94. Certainly much improved from earlier in the day, but that's not going to get him in. But that was indeed a set to go. Both ends of the Pro Stock truck association last year. Don Smith on the older end, Mark Wisden on the younger end. Still taking a look down at the starting line. There's another guy that often gets confused with Tom Hammond, Kurt Johnson down there on the starting line. Oh yeah, he hates that. Yeah. Everybody keeps stopping in his pits. Ask me if I'm Tom Hammond. Well, see, they both wear those red, white, and blue outfits. Huh? Uncanny resemblance, I think, but that might just be me. Yeah, well, you know, the thing is that we get to see them week in and week out on the NHRA Powerade Tour, so you just kind of get used to how to tell them apart. Don Smith and Mark Wisden getting set to go. 2 guys in lifestyle are probably about 180 degrees apart. Keller, Texas, Don Smith, Texas Harley-Davidson, and Wisden getting set to run with that really neat-looking machine. Another last-minute wheelie bar adjustment going on the starting line. Brad Jeter. Adjustment to that Chevy Cavalier down there. One of the very critical things on the Pro Stock cars is just exactly where the wheelie bars are set. When the car leaves the starting line, in theory, leaves on the two back tires, the right front tire, and the right side wheelie bar wheel. Mark Wishnet and his dad Reed Wishnet out there, one of the great Pro Stock drivers back in the formative years. Brad Jeter, the crew chief, got to that's a rather long time working on those wheelie bars too. Looks like he adjusted both sides that time, so took a shot at it back in the pits. Back, 691, how about 689? 200 miles an hour for Wishnet. He still did not get off the starting line very well, but did get into the field. Mark Wishnet up to the number 8 spot. Don Smith down to the number 15. Into the 15 spot at 691. Wishnet did that despite a 104 60-foot time. Don Smith was substantially quicker off the line. And Alan, I know you and I are sitting there figuring 104, he's got no chance. Yeah, I didn't think so. Good run at the top end of the quarter mile. They've got some steam in that thing and also had it hooked up through the middle, which is also very important. John Nobile and Arturo Delgado up next. Arturo, who didn't get down the racetrack the first time, and John, who went 696. At the time, we thought, hey, not a bad run. Then the rest of the cars ran, and we went, geez, only 96, huh? Yeah, what a pooch. There goes Kurt Johnson walking back about 10 steps behind Tom Hammonds. Well, you're just asking for trouble there, Kurt. No wonder you keep getting confused. John Nobile, Piranha Z Machine, Arturo Delgado, McAllen, Texas. Levi's Shop and Dockers, that's what he does for a living. Owns a lot of shops, sell a lot of jeans. Got to sell a whole pile of jeans to go out and go race the Pro Stock. Absolutely. Arturo has made the field in the past, but really when you come out and do this basically on a part-time basis, Alan, it really makes it tough for you to be competitive. It's very difficult. Arturo will tell you. Whoa, Arturo gets in with a 689. Attaboy. 198 for speed, all the way up to the number 9 spot. John Nobile goes 694. I will ask you now, Alan. Arturo is number 9 at 689. Will that stay in this round? No. I agree. I said before we started, I thought we'd be down in the 85, 86 range, and I'll stand by that right now. Well, it's probably about as good as it's going to get at this racetrack for these cars. Here comes Gene Wilson. Wilson desperately needs this run. I mean, I don't think I'm oversimplifying that, do you? No, I think it's absolutely a fact. We talked about it in the first session. Gene, who took over at Team Mopar, Dodge Neon, with David Nickens going into the Gainesville race. Got Gainesville, TNT. David's home racetrack. Track they're very familiar with, they know the tune-up on. Gene Wilson obviously knows how to drive one of these cars. The transition from IHRA Pro Stock to NHRA Pro Stock, I think may have been a little more difficult than some of the guys imagined, but they really need to get it in here just to get the team's confidence back up, get everybody a boost, get them going the right direction. They made the best opening run that they've made, in the first session, and we're actually jazzed about that. Bob and I had a chance to go back to the trailer and talk to the guys. They feel like now they've got a baseline, they've got a handle, they've got a direction for this run. His dad, the world-famous fisherman and card shark, Orlando Wilson. Yeah, don't play cards or go fishing with that guy. In the house. David Nickens down there. And out in front of the race car, going to be Ben Watson and Jerry Ekman, the crew chief. Jerry's out in front with that Pontiac machine. Ben's made a couple of shows over the last few years, but Jerry said, boy, it's tough because if you want to get in, he says, tell me who you're going to bump out. It is a tough class. NHRA Pro Stock. Well, Will's got to have some butterflies right about now. He knows the conditions are ideal if he wants to make it. The Mopar gang goes wild. 200 miles an hour, 713, buck 92 for Ben Watson. Gene Wilson goes all the way up into the number 2 spot behind that Warren Johnson. That was a collective sigh of relief. You heard from the Mopar gang out on the starting line and the Nickens team right directly above us in the tower. And I believe what you said earlier, that's going to be right on the cusp or out. I honestly do. I've been wrong before. I know it's been a while, but if you think back, you might remember a time when I was wrong. You want me to listen alphabetically, chronologically, by order of importance, or what?
If you do that, we'll probably miss the next 6 pairs.
Now here comes Larry Nance. You're talking about Tom Hammonds getting confused a lot with Steve Smith. Believe it or not, a lot of times back in the pit area, Larry Nance often gets confused with Steve Smith too.
Does he have that problem as well?
Yep. Steve's got that universal look about him, you know?
Yeah.
We'll point Steve out to you later, rather. Tom Martino had a great qualifying effort out in Las Vegas, but realized the vagaries of this thing, Alan. Boy, he came up, he was way up in the field last time out. 25th right now with a 93. Certainly has the power of this Pontiac Grand Am to make the show.
Oh, they showed that last week out in Vegas. Tom Martino, another guy, you talk about on the cusp. He's on the cusp of whether or not he's going to be able to run the season with this thing. Does not need a ton of financial help, but does need some. After last year, when longtime sponsor Century 21, the contract was up, they decided to try another venue for their advertising dollars. Wayne Jessel, where Tommy's employed, his own team, they're running that thing out of their own pocket. But that's a good, solid race car that found the winner's circle last year.
Talk about all over the place. He's qualified 15.
A whole lot better than the 688, 200 miles an hour, Tommy. 692, 198 in change. Larry Nance stays on the outside. 692 against the 695. He's 8 spots out. Martino, number 4.
Mike Edwards on the bump now. You'll see the scoreboard. That's 6.90. That does reflect the 16th qualifier's time, or as we like to refer to it, the bump spot. Means that if a car that is not qualified, like, well, Tom Lee or Jay Coughlin comes up, wants to get in, they got to run quicker than 690. If they do, they will bump out Mike Edwards. Of course, Mike is back in the staging lane and has a chance to come up and try to get it back.
Tommy Lee in the Dodge out of the Alan Johnson Racing Stable. Tommy and Alan both made good runs in the opening session. Now we've seen most of the cars improve. If Tommy improves the first session like most of the other cars have, you expect to see him back up in the field. And Jay Coughlin, the former champ out of that Jakes for mail order stable, made a terrible run in the first session. He just needs to get down the track.
Top end of the quarter mile, 686. 200 miles an hour, that'll get him in. Tom Lee goes 694, that will not get him in. Jeggy up to the 2 spot, bumped out Mike Edwards. Kurt Johnson now on the bump. Coming up next, it's going to be the Texas car. Rear and Morrison and Michael Malkin. Let's just show of hands. How many folks in the grandstand can squeeze? I think they're more than I thought. Michael Malkin all the way in from Harold Sweet, right there. You go to Oslo, you make a left, it's the first little bird to come to.
Right.
You can't miss it.
Right. Just like New Jersey, what exit?
Yeah, that's it. So the Swedish team, sponsored by AC Delco in Europe, looks a lot like that Kurt Johnson race car. Bruce Allen, Arlington, Texas. Rear and Morrison. It's set to go the Speedco truck lube machine. Already with a win so far this season. Folks in Texas know one of the legendary drag race teams of all time. David Rear, Buddy Morrison, the great Lee Shepard. Shepard, I believe, one time Allen went to like 16 final rounds in a row.
Oh, he was the man.
Amazing. Worked on the car, drove the car,
Did the cylinder heads.
everything.
Back in the days before CNC machines.
Yep.
He was the man. Very important to keep these cars in the groove. One thing in the last pair, Tom Lee's car got out of the groove and over next to the wall. Had that been a funny car, a top fuel car, you would have seen it go up in smoke. Well, in a pro stock car, they don't smoke the tires, but they do spin the tires. It cost you 300 or 400. It definitely cost Tommy Lee in that last one.
Allen needs to get back in front of the hometown crowd here. 690, still the bump spot. 686, 200 miles an hour. Michael Malkin goes 694. So the keeping score is Texas 1, Sweden nothing. Sounds like an Olympic game, huh?
Yeah.
Bruce Allen. Now you're the #1 qualifier.
Yeah, Warren and Dick and the gang take a step back, but of course they have not run yet. The run order for the second session, with the qualifying order from the first session, inverted. Faster cars earlier at the back of the field. They'll have a chance to pay afterwards. Went out and ran Pomona in a borrowed car. We're testing down in Florida, and Bob said, you know what, enough is enough.
Steve climbed back into the cockpit and has done an outstanding job in that machine.
Bob Glidden in the house here this weekend. Yep. Bob Glidden was back in the pit area at Angel Savoy's trailer talking to her monkey. And I don't believe I've ever made that statement before. Angel's got a monkey that she brings along with her on the road. I'm not making this up. And Bob Glidden, who's always been a real fan of animals exotic. Would I make that up?
No, Mike Edwards and Mark Powick. Mike Edwards, Mike Elliott, the Young Life team, they may not know it yet, but they owe me a very big thank you because Bob Fry was going to stop by and say hi between rounds, but I steered him away from there.
It means they ought to run to the #1 spot.
As long as you didn't stop by, Mark Powick on the other side, that Summit Racing.
Yep, now 683.3, 200.92 miles an hour. Say hi to your new #1 qualifier, our first sub 1 second 60-foot time. 9:97. Alex goes 687 up to the number 11. 5. Nick Wilson cut that now for the top half of the field. That was a huge run for Mike Elliott, for Lisa, for Mike Edwards, the Young Life. When you come off the line and you're 9.97, 60 feet, you gotta like your chances of making it in.
Oh yeah, all you gotta do at that point is keep it in the groove and hope nothing falls off.
You'd have to have me tuning it up not to make it after that, you know?
Well, I don't know that I'd go that far. I can promise you though, that won't be the last sub 1 second time. We've got some cars back here in the back that historically have been lightning fast in the first part of the racetrack. J.R. Cars comes to mind. Daryl Alderman's comes to mind. Roy Coughlin and Larry Morgan on the starting line right now, both who were well in the field when we started. Both would have to stand on their tiptoes just to see the bump spot now. Roy Coughlin knows that brother Jag already went down and made a pretty good run. If he can duplicate that, I think he'll be thrilled. Larry Morgan's seen a couple of Dodges slide on down through there. He would love to join the fray.
Yep. Roy Coughlin and Larry Morgan. These two guys got a chance to do what hardly anybody's done this year. Bump out Ron Krischer.
Yeah. They better find a phone quick though, because Krischer will be up in a minute. Still goes 687 to 708. So Morgan, he never really got on track. Troy goes up into the number 11 spot. Morgan falls below the line. And Daryl Alderman, who was way up in the top half of the field when he started this deal, on the bump, of course.
Ron Krischer just got bumped out. Everybody that believes Ron will stay outside of the field, raise your hand.
People from Sweden.
That's it. We had more Swedish people raising their hands. Unbelievable. Well, Alan Johnson, yep. Alan Johnson and Kurt Johnson, absolutely no relation. Alan Johnson of the Greenville, Tennessee Johnson. Kurt Johnson from the Sugar Hill, Georgia Johnson. Kurt coming off his worst season as a pro. First time he finished outside the top 5. Number 9 last year. The AC Delco Chevrolet, came out of Pomona last year like he was going to be a world beater. Then looked like I tuned it up after that.
Never got back to the winner's circle after the first race of the season.
One of 15 drivers in a record-setting year that won in pro stock.
Kurt Johnson coming off of that DNQ last week, and as we mentioned, this is a brand new race car. Warren said earlier that I figured out how to keep Kurt from doing that again. I sold that car.
Yes, he did.
Jerry Bickle built machine on the starting line, and Alan Johnson in his Neon. Alan, who also had a forgettable Las Vegas, trying to bounce back here in Texas.
Johnson. High-gear charge, pretty good run. 685 for KJ. Look at that speed, 201. Again, big mile an hour. Alan Johnson, 687, 201 miles an hour. J.R. Carr, now down on the bump spot. Bump spot for the top half now goes to John Geyer. On the scoreboard now, 688-1. You say? Gee, Mr. Announcer, this will be our quickest field ever. Well, the rest of the remaining cars would have to run quicker than Mike Edwards did.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't think that's going to happen.
We're a ways from that, but then
It's going to be fast.
it is going to be that. George Marnell and Darrell Alderman, both on the outside. Both have been to the winner's circle this year already. Darrell down in Gainesville. George Marnell out in Pomona to kick things off. That Matco Tool Pontiac with rare Morrison horsepower under the hood. George still currently the points leader in the Powerade Championship. Darrell Alderman riding high. The win in Gainesville, the final round last week in Vegas. David Nicken, car owner, engine builder, waves him up. That's one of the hottest cars in Pro Stock right now.
I got to believe that this car's got a chance to move to the top of the pack. Got to go 683.3 or quicker. Marnell also with an opportunity to do that. The great Baron Morrison tower. Nicken's on the right side. Marnell goes right into the That's right. 684 for George. 685 for Darrell. George goes to number 2. Alderman number 5. Mark Rouse, who has already run on the bump.
Well, right at the last second, Ricky Smith was literally adjusting the wheelie bars as the car sat in pre-stage. So they made a last-second adjustment on that Darrell Alderman car. Was not the best 60-footer of the round. Did go down there and get him back in the field. They got to feel pretty good about that.
Marnell had a 1:00 60-foot. Alderman 1:02, the best 60-foot time of the round. Very short pro stock. Edwards still monster, 997.
That'll bring up Greg Anderson out of Vegas General Construction, Ken Black's outfit. Greg has had an up-and-down season so far already. It's amazing that just 4 races in, as tight as this pro stock field is, by my unofficial count, only 8 guys have qualified for every race, and we're only 4 in. And keep in mind, it wasn't that long ago we went through a season and there were only 2 guys that qualified for every race.
Now, WJ just keeps qualifying every time out there. He is just amazing when it comes to running these race cars. Qualified for every field since, 1987.
How about the pair in the water box?
In Gainesville. Whoa. Little slugfest coming up next.
Oh, yeah. But first, we'll see if Greg and Tom Hammonds can get back in. Again, both were deep in the field when we started this session. Both now find themselves below the line.
All the way down, left side of the race course, 682. 201 at 685 for Hammond. Greg goes number 1. Hammond number 4.
Roy Coughlin, who has already run, is now on the bump spot. Pretty amazing run. 1 flat 60 feet for Greg Anderson.
You're talking about the engine builders, Iaconio, Baron Morrison, Ron Krischer, your top 5 engine builders. And here comes Ron Krischer and J.R. Carr. You talk about the qualifying Allen in 99, only Warren Johnson qualified for every race. In 2000, W.J., Jay, Troy, Krischer and Howitt. Last year, W.J., Edwards, Krischer and Yates, Ron Krischer. Now riding the second longest consecutive qualifying streak in pro stock at 51 races.
Think it's a jeopardy here?
No.
If you did, I was going to have you examine it. J.R. Carr, Dick Maskin, who built the motors for that, told us today we found some things. We're going to be in Krischer's realm. And Ron Krischer, who has been the class of pro stock this year, well, here we go. Put up or shut up.
You could see a 670 pro stock run on this pair. Krischer, J.R. Carr. Krischer's been number 1 in every race so far. Needs to get it off the line, though. Really blew the tires off the line. Krischer, contact goes. 683.2. Look at that speed. 202 and change. 694. Krischer flags up into the number 2 spot. And how about that? For the first time this year, he's dangerous. Not being number 1, and J.R. Carr left the whole mile on the table that time. 694. Not improved, and he is not in.
Wow. Again, he was the only car in Vegas that was able to get in on Saturday that didn't make a good run for Friday night session. So I wouldn't write them off just yet, but
you didn't have to run 87 out there either.
But you were also 2,000 feet in the air instead of sea level. Here comes that Warren Johnson and Jim Yates. Jim Yates, who is on the bump spot. And Warren Johnson, who currently sits number 11. 2 pretty good old race cars there. I will ask you, Bob, since we love putting each other on the spot and then embarrassing the other one when they're wrong, since, well, neither of us are right very often. Greg Anderson stay on top after this pair clears the traps?
No, sir, he does not.
You don't think so?
Dave Warren Johnson's going to the top spot for the 126th time in his career.
I would be willing to wager you're incorrect. That 82 was a monster run.
The racetrack, 6.828 per gate, 6.829. Just like I said, Greg Anderson will stay number 1. Here's where they wind up. Go to the roughy hour. Here's where they wind up. Ricky Stevens on the bump. Dean Wilson, 15. John Geyer, 14. Jay Coughlin, 13. Bruce Allen, 12. Steve Smith is number 11. Darrell Alderman, 10. Kurt Johnson, number 9. And the top half of your O'Reilly Auto Parts Spring Nationals Pro Stock Field. V. Gaines is number 8. Tom Hammonds for Winnebago is 7. George Barnell is number 6 for Matco. Mike Edwards for Young Life is 5. Ryan Krischer, Eagle 1 is 4. Warren Johnson for GM Performance Parts is 3. Jim Yates for Split Fire is 2. And your number 1 qualifier for Vegas General Construction. How about that Greg Anderson at 682.4? Big honking fuel cars coming up next. Somewhere between people flying the space shuttle and girls in hula skirts is a happy medium here in the drag strip. I'm not really sure what it is, but, you know. There's something about girls in hula skirts, you know. Tomorrow night. I love coming down here to Houston Raceway Park. You're going to get some special match race action tomorrow night, 8:30 tomorrow night. Celtic, Cat, Tommy Johnson, Tony Trotsko, all at the same time. I just wiped up Tony Trotsko. And not on this track. So we'll tell you more about that when they come up to make a run. And Jack Wyatt getting set to head on down the racetrack. Move, just see Mallet in Iowa. Oh. Now it's down the road there in Iowa. Jack Wyatt, one of the guys, still trying to do it the way it used to be done. Hit the match race circuit, ran a lot in the Midwest. You know, back in the days, it used to run 2 or 3 times a week. That would keep you on the road. You know, you come out every once in a while, try to pick up the big boys. He's got a lot of friends out here. Help him try to get that Firebird going in the right direction. The problem with Funny Car is that right now, you fans know, it is so top heavy. Independent teams that come out here and try to knock heads with the Forces and the Worsons and the rest of the boys. Oh, Ray Alley looking under the body. That can't be a good sign. Now they got the body up there as they get set to try to make that qualifying run, and they're shutting it down. So a tough break for Jack Wyatt, the Sammy Stone, and the Pontiac. We've seen him especially here at the Texas tracks. Make some very good runs, but you got to come up. It might have been leaking something underneath. They're going to back him off. Well, it's a little quiet. We'd like to remind you folks, tomorrow night, 8:30, we'll be done our drag racing. Over there at the round track, special match race in the late model sportsman, Gary Selsey, Tommy Johnson, and Ron Katz will be match racing over there at the oval track. And your ticket for the O'Reilly Spring Nationals here will get you in free. Kind of cool, huh? So that's tomorrow night, so going over there. And if you're lucky, really lucky, the girls in the hula skirts will be over there with them. What's that for? Really? Because they're all down there for the folks in white cap down there. First thing I think of white cap and hula skirts, man. Roll over that stuff. I can't help but think of those 3 guys you mentioned that are going to be driving those round track cars. Who has driven one before? I know Tommy Johnson has. Yeah. I know for those legend cars and done that kind of stuff. It's interesting though, because the guy that loses, the 2 guys that lose, have to wear those hula skirts. Is that the way it works? Yes, indeed. That's the rule. We just made it up. They'd be weenies if they backed out of that. So tomorrow night. Now there's some people look good in hula skirts. You know what? You know, that's Joey. We'd like to say happy birthday to Arlene, the stunningly attractive, show-stopping Arlene, who today is celebrating happy birthday number. If I tell you, he's going to kill me. 19. Anyway, so happy birthday to Arlene, who's just absolutely breathtaking. Was actually hanging out with Lewis earlier in the day. Boy, that ruined her reputation.
Yeah, but then we also what happened next. Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah, right. There's a couple of cars that get me shot. You don't usually see this close to the front of the qualifying order.
Tommy Gilbert's in a different body on than he had earlier today.
Yeah. Going back to the primer one from the Desert Storm one, I believe is what they call the other one. And Johnny Gray had the parachute fall out on burnout. He did not get a run in the first section. The upside of the two-car team, he got the information from Del Worth's run that he can draw and got it up.
Johnny Gray's had a great start to the season. A couple of semifinals, first round with DNQ. Bob Gilbert.
Because they really do think they were, the fact that just one run away, they should have been able to get that car in.
Well, Johnny Gray has been a success at everything that he has raced. He's going to be a top 10 car this year. And Del Worth's been running enough. Del making a run for the NHRA Race Championship also. 4 races into the year with a DNQ. And those things, you come out with like this, while you're attending points, you leave a lot on the table. Especially since Del, the one where he didn't qualify, John Jordan, went out the opening round.
Yeah, that was really a godsend to Del. And of course, last week in Vegas, they ran in the second round. Del won that race. And he made back the round, but he lost that in Gainesville. So it's going to be a very interesting, very long year. 971, the bump spot. Belongs to Bob Gilbertson. Top half of the field, though, is considerably tough. A lot of tire smoke we saw in that opening round. That thing stepped up considerably, just like the first stock cars did.
Bob Gilbertson goes to the top spot. And Johnny Gray goes through a 4.99. Johnny Gray will go over up to the number 2 spot for right now. So Gilbertson with a 90. 4.99 for Johnny Gray, our first 2 drivers. Let's go into the 4-second race. They will not see the last. Here comes the Skoll green car. This is Ron Cass on the far side, a guy that is the fastest car in all of funny car racing. He holds the speed record. Garrett Engine, who's qualified 5 times in a row, or actually set top speed 5 times in a row. I'd like to say hi to all the great folks from O'Reilly Auto Parts, all their friends and guests. They're on hand here this weekend. A lot of them coming down to take a look at the races, get a little closer to the starting line than they probably ever thought possible.
That is an experience. You ever get the opportunity to get down that close. Feel what it feels like in the grandstand. The closer you get, the more intense the feeling. Here comes Gary Denson. Oh, that big run out in Vegas. Ron Cass. Cars now well down the bottom half of the field. It's amazing to me looking at the sheet. Only 17 cars scored a time in that first race. Of course, Johnny Gray didn't. Run. So a couple more on the property. Just off that opening pair. Something up on that field. Let's get 20 minutes or so.
Well, if you get cars like that again, the average out like an 11-second time for their first run. Pretty safe and set and they're going to do it.
Little pair of cars here. We're talking about it time and time again. You want to go funny car race, you got to have a budget. Those do. You have first class crew with you, a lot of experience. Those do. Plenty of technical support, engineering support, manpower. They both do. There's no excuse for either one of these cars for not running well.
They will not make any. If they go out there and just get beat, they will just tell you, hey, the other team did a better job. But talking about a team like the Skoll Chevrolet team, the Don Verdone, they're absolutely loaded. And they want to come out. They made the finals in the blue car last week, but it wasn't exactly the way they wanted to do it. They didn't overpower themselves or their opposition to get to the finals. But they got there, and then obviously felt to let one get away with Gary Daniels' guys in the other lane, beat him with a 5-40. Then we started a big speed run with the truck. Put together the engine, see if he hooks it up, and then they run. 488, Gary Daniels, 10 Royal Lane, big speed at 319, looking to make it 6 in a row. The top speed of the meet, Ron Katz, Skoll Chevrolet green car. 492. Folks, give both teams a nice round of applause. That was a great side-by-side run. Forces team with the Ford and Gary Denton for the Automobile Club of Texas. Skoll and Don Verdone's team with Ron Katz for Chevrolet. Let them hear it as they go down in front of the grandstand to pick up their team mates. John Force, having watched his flagship driver, going back in, we'll watch the France instant replay. And Alan, not a whole lot that went wrong.
No, there wasn't. I'm very curious on Densham's car, though. From here, it looked like the flames may have been down before the finish line. Not sure if we'll be able to tell from this angle or not. At 319 miles an hour, he couldn't have shut it off much early. Might have been just a little bit. Now, look at the big flame out the left side over there. That's just absolutely incredible photo. Now, if it wasn't much.
Yeah, he didn't scrub any speed off of that. Gary Selby in the white cap machine from Matco Tools and Toyota. Frank Pendergast had a big place in the car. Brand new operation out there, the White Cat folks. He doesn't have anything better than 90. He's going to be bummed, I believe. I think he was very upset. Alan Johnson won't be very pleased either. They honestly believe that they can win races, contend for the championship with this team. Bruce Arbor last year was part of the Alan Johnson team, but they have Richard Hogan over there, calling the shots and doing the hands-on operation. Alan is still learning a little bit the operation of a funny car, but he was learning the drag straight. Pretty sharp guy once he gets a handle on it. Gary Selby still getting comfortable in the cockpit, but getting more so every day. His first year in a funny car after 5 years and 3 world championships. But he said he absolutely loves it. This is really fun over here. He loves racing these guys, competing and mixing it up with the sources, base horses, Pendergast, all of them of the world. You got to start letting everybody know you can play some hardball. It's a good time to do it. That was the best conditions we've had this year for the school cars.
Yes, it is. If you don't get down and lay down a number tonight, again, no excuses.
The top end. Oh, that's a big fire. The top end for Gary Selby. You take a look at it up on Motel 6 visit. Bringing that thing to a halt. That car ran very well. 494, there's the hatch at the top. And Gary experienced it, his first quick exit from the fuel funny car. That baby's still rolling out there. He's wanting to get out. The NHRA Safety Safari, as always, right on the spot. Still little flames underneath, and they will quickly douse that. 494, 304 the speed. Gets himself up to the number 4 spot. And just a wild ride. Frankie Pendergast obviously did not run the number C1. Frankie became his builder's car. Look at the car, not qualified. Always amazed, Alan, how quickly the driver gets out of the car and how quickly the safety safari is down there. Everybody's so very well, even with these great speeds lately. You don't see a whole lot of the big fires like that. No, you certainly don't. And unless I've missed something drastic, that's the first time Gary Selby has been through that with one lighting up like that. They've had some small problems in there, but you know, he must have got on the fire bottles, knocked it down fairly quickly, so the undercoatings and things that are required now on the body help keep it from burning up so badly. And once that thing was stopped, wasn't a whole lot of lost motion before Mr. Selby came right straight out the roof. Watch up on Motel 6 vision. We'll look at that again on the Cram Instant Replay. Maybe it was honking for a quarter-mile, Alan. It was running very well. You watch Frankie smoke them. They'll pedal it a couple of times and then give up the chase. And all eyes on Gary Selzy. Straight, smooth, right down to the end, and boom. Let me tell you, that's an attention getter. Right about now, it's going, man, that tractor wasn't so bad, you know? Shoots out already. Onboard extinguisher trying to snuff that fire out. But he's doing a pretty good job. Kept it off the wall, I believe. I think you're right. As you mentioned, a brand new chassis. The last thing he wants to do is get over there and bend it up. Might have been just a little scrub on the wall, but that didn't look hard enough to hurt anything. Just back into the middle of the lane. Of course, with all that fire in your face and all that going on, it's going to be just a tad disoriented in the race car. Gary got his shots, got out. They did an awful lot of work over there at the White Cap pits tonight, but